Да, вот Аня.
Доброе утро. Давай, что это? Dobro, ovo sve izgleda super. Morning, everyone. I want to wish you a warm welcome on behalf of the Western Balkan 6 Chamber Investment Forum. And it is a great pleasure to welcome you all on today's event organized in online format, presenting the WB6 Chamber Investment Forum, a report on the monitoring of the implementation of the Common Regional Market Action Plan, the key business insights on priority key areas. Before we start, or during the start, I would like to just drop information on few technical issues related to the meeting itself. First, you received a notification that this event will be recorded and is being recorded, and at the same time, please be informed that it is live streamed on the CEFTA channel, as we are organizing this week this event within the CEFTA week, which is happening for the 15th time this year in Skopje. Apart from that, please be informed that we would kindly request you to keep your microphones muted during the event. And further on, when the presentation of the report will be completed, please use the tool in the reactions area on the bottom of your screen to raise your hand if you want to join in to the discussion. I would briefly introduce you into the topic before giving the floor to two of the key speakers, which will bring introductory remarks for this event. That the Chamber Investment Forum has been actively involved in the overall framework for the implementation of a Common Regional Market Action Plan in, let's say, two main pillars. On one hand, that is coordinating the lead of the private sector in direct implementation of some of the key areas within the Common Regional Market Action Point, which amongst others relate particularly in implementation of the Regional Innovation and Industrial Area and the Regional Supplier Development Program. But the second important stream of our activities, and the reason why we are here today, is also the commitment of the Chamber Investment Forum as a joint voice of more than 350,000 companies throughout the region to provide the views or the positions of the private sector regarding the implementation of this key document in the regional economic agenda, and their views or their feedback on how do they view the implementation of the action plan in regards to providing direct, concrete, and tangible results or benefits on field for everybody that is concerned or directly affected by these measures. You are all aware how the activities or the procedures regarding implementation of the action plan have been going in the last year, that is almost 30 months from the outset of its implementation. And this monitoring activity has had to adapt to the circumstances. But in any case, we are glad to be able to provide today a brief insight on the business's position regarding some of the key areas that are noted in the action plan. In the beginning, I would like to welcome Mr. Mihailo Vesovic from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Serbia, who will be speaking instead of Mr. Čadež today. Mr. Vesovic, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tatiana. Good morning to everyone. I'm happy to see that there is more than 100 participants on today's event, and I think that this annual meeting and CEFTA weeks are the time when we are looking back a little and seeing what has been done in the past period and what should we expect in the future. So today's presentation, I think that is going to be one of the cornerstones of every CEFTA week further on, and basically we are planning to have at least two checkpoints or two times annually presentation of what has been done according to the plan. But let me start by saying that the West Balkan 6 business community represented by the Chamber of Investment Forum is probably the strongest voice of the business community in the region, and trying to be one of the biggest motivators of the 4 goals that we put in front of ourselves. It's the free movement of goods, services, people, and capital. And actually, we are very much committed to this goal, and we hope that together with our organizations, chambers, and the business council that consists of the 16 most important companies and companies that are working in the whole area of West Balkan 6, that we basically we committed ourselves to monitor the implementation, first of all, the Common Regional Market Action Plan, which was adopted by the West Balkan 6 governments 13 months ago. Unfortunately, there has not been a lot of big results in the last 13 months, and I hope that this is particularly hard year for the businesses overall, but still we are standing behind the action points defined in this document, and as in the name of the business community from the West Balkan 6 region, we are firmly advocating and pushing the related governments and institutions to go through the plan as accordingly. So past year has exposed West Balkan 6 countries to contract the economy by 3.1%, especially the small and medium-sized companies were affected by the crisis. Good information is that we rebounded in the last year, and average growth of the region will be somewhere around 5.6% of the GDP. I think that we are always putting us as the main task to implement the common regional market, and we expect that this rise of the GDP will be affected annually more than 1%, somewhere between 1 and 1.5%. And I would like to conclude that I hope that the presentation today and the views and insight by the business community will provide enough information and enough motivation for the decision makers and other stakeholders to implement the 4 goals that we are put in front of ourselves: the free movement of people, goods, services, and capital. I will leave you in the hands or in the mind of my colleague Bojan Stanic, who will present the overall document. But nevertheless, I hope that this discussion is going to be interactive, that we'll use every opportunity to exchange our views between ourselves and to still be the biggest and most important business representative in the region. And I hope that the governments will move faster in the future. The next checkpoint during the next year will be much more fruitful. And I hope that overall the methodology and everything that we've done through this monitoring will be improved further on with our joint work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mihailo. Yes, it is a common goal that in the next year or beforehand our next report, we see also tangible movements in the implementation of the document itself. Now it brings me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Emir Džikić, the director of the CIF Secretariat. The position of the Western Balkan 6 Chamber Investment Forum is that if we want to have positive results in the implementation, the synergies and the cooperation in implementing all activities should be done jointly by all interrelated stakeholders or partners in this process. So it brings me great pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Džikić. Emir, please go ahead.
Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, Mihailo, for the kind words, and thank you for organizing this event in the framework of the CEFTA Week. I will go a bit into the past. If we compare the first year implementation of the CRM with the first year of the implementation of MAPREA program, we will see that there are huge differences. Some of the activities during the CRM process are much faster implemented than those in the MAPREA activities. I think the reasons are two. First, we had the private sector involved in the creation of the CRM. So basically the creation of the CRM gave the inputs of the private sector and gave the priorities of the private sector. And second thing is something we waited for a year, and we are very glad that this report is here, that we have the pressure of the private sector towards the government. And I'm speaking this as a representative of the policy makers here at the government. So basically we are glad that we have some pressure which is stronger and stronger on us in order to implement the faster the goals. And this is the reason for which some of the results were achieved during the last year period, taking into account on the political sensitivities and everything which is happening in the last year in the region. What is quite important is to state, I don't know how much how many of you are aware that we launched yesterday, let's say, the software which exactly measures the waiting times at the BCP CCPs within CEFTA, and that those data are complementary to the data produced by the transport community and that are used in your report. It would be very interesting to see the comparison of the two, due to the fact that already from our side we had some reactions of the CEFTA parties on that report. And basically, if you will see, if you look to our statistics, that in the last period of time since we produced the draft data, basically the customs authorities have taken measures, and that the waiting times of some BCP CCPs were shortened for half an hour in the period of the last 2 months since we are preparing the data for the publications. So basically, these pressures which we make, the two of us on the parties, on the CEFTA parties, are the ones who will make the authorities working better, find the bottlenecks and remove the bottlenecks, and basically try to foster the implementation of the activities. We are within the CEFTA, we already adopted in June this year. I'm now scrolling through some topics which will be presented from the report today, and just comparing them. We had adopted the decision on the PEM transitional rules in June this year, but sadly due to the political reasons, several parties were unable to fulfill the conditions in order to enable the economies and business operators to benefit from the relaxed rules of origins that are previewed in the PEM transitional rules. At the beginning, I would not like to spoil the event, so basically I would like just to say a couple of words. The cooperation that we have and should continue definitely in the next years. The more pressure you put on the authorities of the CEFTA parties, eases our work, because we are able to provide for the decisions much faster, and basically this would be all for the benefit of the business community that is the main beneficiary of the work of both of our organizations and all of the organizations in the region. For the next year we are planning again the ambitious agenda that would be in line with the CRM activities in the framework of the CEFTA chairmanship priorities that will be presented tomorrow during the main conference of the CEFTA week. And basically I invite all of you to register and to participate at the conference. It will give the insights on what was achieved this year. Maybe it's not visible yet on the map of the KPIs or the monitoring mechanisms, but definitely the achievements which are provided in the last couple of months here, the extension of the green lanes to all the BCP CCPs within the region, where you can see in the report that basically the BCPs and CCPs within the region have much lower waiting times than the BCPs with the European member states. And basically, with the finalization of discussions with Italy, Greece, and Greece, we hope that we will in the next year have the extension of the green lanes to the EU, and hopefully that all 5 neighboring EU member states will accept the invitation to join the green lanes that would enable the reduction of the congestions on the border crossings that are the main, notably towards Hungary and towards Croatia from the CEFTA parties, where 70% of our exports are basically going. So in order not to take it too long, please keep monitoring us, keep telling us what is not good, what do you want faster. Of course, it has to be done on a scientific basis and on the basis of the rapprochement of the legislation of all the parties towards the EU. And we will try our best from the authority side and with the help with the CEFTA parties' administrations to accommodate those requests, which are, of course, sensible and going towards the EU, rapprochement. As well, I would wish to thank at the end the EU for the support of all of the events, not only in the financial sense, but especially in the sense of providing the technical expertise from the different relevant DGs in the harmonization of our legislations towards the EU and the big techs on that. And I hope that, as Mihai already stated, that this will become a topic where we will discuss it towards each end of the year when each CEFTA week is planned, and to see where are the gaps and where are the success story that we are going to present on the 16th. And once more, the invitation to everybody to register on our Facebook page or social media pages or the website for the participation at the conference on the 16th to see what we are planning to do in 2022 and what we have achieved in 2021. That today you will see what is the perspective of the business sector on those issues. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhigis. You can rest assured and all the stakeholders in the region that the private sector from the region and the Chamber Investment Forum as the voice, the joint voice from the businesses from the region remains committed to monitoring the implementation, to stating the priorities, and let's not call it pushing, but constantly repeating that there are still needs on some issues to be further developed upon and improved. Without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Bojan Stanic on behalf of the Western Balkan 6 Chamber Investment Forum, the Regional Center for Economic Analysis, who will guide you in his presentation through the key findings of the report that has been prepared. Bojan, please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tatiana, for this introduction. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I will speak as already Tatiana mentioned, a representative of the Chamber Investment Forum, which stands for the Association of Chambers of Commerce from all the Western Balkans economies. And I will try to briefly present you a new report on actual business insights and monitoring system related to the implementation of Common Regional Market Action Plan for 2021-2024. In this report, we have tried to, let's say, to sum up the main business insights on planned activities in the selected fields of economic integration, like movement of people, goods, services, and capital. But before we start, I would like to highlight that thanks to awareness of the regional business community, the Western Balkans is in a process of creating a common regional market. And respecting the mutual interest to improve the business environment, to make intra-regional trade much easier, and to make the region a single investment destination. Mikhail already mentioned some macroeconomic data, but if we exclude the 2020 as a pandemic year, the economic activity in the region in the last, let's say, 10 years is on the rise. It is mainly because of favorable global trend that we also use, and free trade agreement, of course, CEFTA agreement, and a lot of foreign direct investments coming to the region. So it seems that regional cooperation works. But on the administrative level, the cooperation is, let's say, of relatively low efficiency. Thus, we can see many tangible progress in this, let's say, creation of regional economic integration. We are all familiar with the Common Regional Market Action Plan for 2021-2024, and it is important that this action plan is firmly supported by the European Commission. For us, analysts, it is important to know what's the situation in the business community in the region. Do we make any progress or delays? And based on that, generally speaking, this action plan is relatively ambitious. So we need an efficient monitoring system to track the implementation. However, because of a lack of administrative progress, especially in 2021, which is the first year of this action plan, we have decided to prepare a report on current situation, actual insights, and business community recommendation, thanks to the survey among the companies from the region. I think that this report is quite informative, but also there is a significant room for improvement. So we see this report as a starting point, as, let's say, a pilot report in this multi-annual process of tracking progress within the common regional market integration. So let's proceed with the presentation. I will now share my screen. Just a second, please. So do you see the presentation?
Not yet. Can you please try again?
Not yet. Okay, just a second. I think it's better now.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. So regarding monitoring system, there are two groups of indicators for monitoring the implementation process of the Common Regional Market Action Plan for 2021-2024 within the key economic areas we already mentioned: free movement of people, goods, services, and capital. The first group of indicators are macroeconomic indicators reflecting the actual economic developments. And the source for those indicators are national statistical offices and the database provided by Vienna Institute for International Economic Studies. The second group of indicators are actual business insights, actually views and expectations from the business community regarding the implementation process in those key areas. And source for these insights was the business survey conducted in period from mid-September to mid-October on the sample of 500 regional companies from all the Western Balkans economies and from many economic branches. The methodology is based on a systematic approach using a respectable international experience like the EU industrial strategy and, of course, analytical experience of our team. Now, let me just run through the indicators. The first group, macroeconomic indicators, are, let's say, grouped within the following headlines. So the, let's say, headline indicators are the key macroeconomic aggregates like GDP, GDP per capita, gross value added, and GDP per capita as a percent of the EU average. Within the common market integration group, we used intra-regional trade on goods, intra-regional export intensity. Within the overall internationalization, we used overall trade in goods and services, openness index, and export intensity for extra regional trade in goods. Within the group movement of people, absolute figures for population, employment, unemployment, and unemployment rate. For the trade of services, export of services, import of services, and balance of trade in services. And at the end, a group of indicators related to investment and capital, gross fixed capital formation, absolute figure and as a percentage of GDP, and realized loans to non-financial corporation. Regarding the group of indicators based on actual business insights, in the 6 key areas, we will speak about them in detail. So I will just say those areas: waiting time at border crossing points, progress in elimination of barriers, trade barriers, harmonization of rules that apply to products traded within the region, providing services across the region on equal terms, access to labor market in terms of to make easier, let's say, procedure to move, stay, and work for the people in the region, and cross-border movement of capital. Now we go to the main insights that we published in the report. So before we start with this slide, I would like to, let's say, to highlight that we have to bear in mind that all the local governments stated that the European and the EU integrations are the crucial economic and political goal for all the economies in the region. And a few of the regional economies are already candidate states. On the other hand, the regional economic integration has been initiated through several initiatives, just to mention the Berlin process, of course, this action plan, and the Open Balkan initiative. However, we still have unreasonably long waiting time on the borders with the European Union, concrete with Hungary, Croatia, Bulgaria, and Greece. But also, although the waiting time on the intra-regional borders is much shorter, it is still too long for the companies, for the regional companies, to do their business. And another information which is quite important, that during 2021, almost no progress has been achieved in the implementation of the action points under the action plan, which would lead to decrease in the average waiting times on the border crossing points within the Western Balkans region and towards the neighboring EU countries. So according to the data, we see that waiting time on the borders with the European Union is 152 minutes, and on inbound crossing points, 98 minutes. As we already mentioned, the waiting time on the intra-regional borders is shorter, 72 minutes outbound crossing points and 65 minutes inbound crossing points. So according to the business community, what are the main findings? So we need to expand the green lights to the border control, border crossing points with the EU, and need to open additional crossing points with Hungary, Croatia, Bulgaria, and Greece. Also, there is a lack of coordination in the region regarding unharmonized working hours for customs, phytosanitary, and veterinary inspection inside the control points on the interregional borders. Priority crossing for perishable goods, it is also important. In the green lines scheme doesn't function the same way on all the border crossing points. And it is also the thing of digitalization. We have to enable electronic submission of documents instead of the current practice that only paper documents are acceptable. So this procedure should be paperless. Regarding the elimination of trade barriers, first of all, no matter of the existing free trade agreement in the Western Balkans, but also we heard some very encouraging comments from Mr. Džikić, there are many trade barriers. And those trade barriers still continue to be serious obstacles to doing business in the Western Balkan region. The companies are facing both waste of time and additional costs caused by trade barriers. And the most affected are products of food industry, chemical industry, and metal industry. And we have to bear in mind that, especially for those local economies that are production oriented, these sectors, these economic branches, are the main export drivers of export. And there are no regulatory improvements regarding the adoption of efficient dispute settlement mechanism. And also the problem is that there is no official comprehensive report on existing trade barriers for 2021. According to the survey, to mention that 47.2% of companies reported some trade obstacles and barriers. And on the other hand, 38.4% of the companies reported obstacles within trade facilitation issues. Also, the results of the survey show that the most relevant trade obstacles for the Western Balkans companies that report barriers are rules of origin, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, export-related measures, pre-shipment inspections, and other formalities, as well as technical barriers. Moving to the next slide. As we know, the regional economies, due to EU integration goal, are obliged to harmonize their regulations in line with the EU rules. But also, that means that the rules have to be harmonized among the regional economies as well. But for example, harmonization of rules related to the technical requirements and standards remain one of the main problems that affect free movement of goods within the region. The regional economies face additional costs, of course, for recertifying and testing already tested and certified products. There is no any significant improvement regarding the establishment and implementation of mutual recognition programs in 2021. And even the existing recognition programs, mutual recognition programs, have not been further implemented, like the program for fruits and vegetables. And no any progress has been made on negotiating a program for industrial products. Moving to the trade in services, actually providing services across the region on equal terms. The main obstacles are related to the services, which are related to the services are recognition of licenses, different technical standards, non-transparent rules and procedures in the market, and so on. And also, here is the big problem that no mutual recognition agreement has been adopted in 2021. Also, regarding the e-commerce, we have to mention that this branch of economic activity was, let's benefit from the pandemic, but also there are many barriers related to e-commerce in the region, and the main of them are customs procedures, logistics, and insufficient information about market-specific regulatory rules, different regulation related to digital business, and so on. And according to our survey, 28% of companies reported obstacles in providing services on equal terms in the region. That's not, let's say, a big share, but it's also important for those companies that are oriented on the regional market. Because, for example, here in the Chamber of Commerce Industry of Serbia, we have, let's say, 120,000 of companies, but only 16,000 are export oriented. So the majority of companies are oriented on the domestic market, and among those that are exporting companies, not many companies are oriented only to services in the region. Free movement of people actually making it easier for individuals to move, stay, and work in the region. Before we continue with the main findings, we have to mention that demographic situation is one of the main risks, or better to say threats, for sustainable growth and development in the region. And that negative demographic trend is caused both by natural and mechanical factors. Because of that, many economic branches already report the lack of adequate workforce in terms of professional skills and number of needed workers. And that's why this problem related to demographics should be treated with special caution in the region. According to the survey, 55% of companies reported insufficient labor force offer on the market in terms of adequacy. The main obstacles are long procedures for obtaining work permits, qualification requirements, and complicated formalities for entry and residency in the region. Also, there has been no progress in the activities for abolishment of working permits in 2021. Now, we move to the free movement of capital as the last key area. And we should know that export-oriented growth model of regional economies, especially in those that are production-oriented, is depending on building the production capacity and attracting the foreign direct investments. Of course, those FDIs are coming mainly from the well-developed countries, mainly from the European Union, Eurozone. However, we shouldn't forget the domestic investment capacity, including the intra-regional investments as well. According to the available regional data for foreign direct investments for 2020, the level of intra-regional direct investments amounted to 185 million euro, and it was only 3.4% of overall direct investments inflows coming to the Western Balkans. When you see the absolute figure 185 million, that's a relatively big figure, but we see it as much below the potential. And according to our survey, 72% of companies reported obstacles in enabling cross-border movement of capital and payments. Activities for abolishing the key restriction impeding the movement of capital across the region directly affect the rate of intra-regional investments, and activities in this area should be should have priority, even prior 2024. Now, we will speak about macroeconomic indicators, but since all those indicators are represented in the report in details, we will, let's say, run through these slides, and I will try to highlight only those information that could be important for the audience. Talking about overall economic activity, if we, let's say, if we exclude 2020 as a year under influence of pandemic, the GDP is on the rise in the last 5 years, even the GDP per capita. We are coming back to the, let's say, expansive growth rates in 2021, and in the next medium term, we expect that the average growth rate will be somewhere between 4 and 5% on annual level. Talking about intra-regional trade in goods, here is an interesting information that in 2019, intra-regional trade in goods was slightly lower than it was in 2008. And remember that 2019 was the pre-pandemic year. Regarding export intensity, also the intra-regional trade in goods as percentage of gross value added was reduced in 2019 compared to the 2018. Also in 2018, there was a slight decline of intra-regional trade in goods as a percentage of gross value added. Well, when you take a look at foreign trade with the world, regional foreign trade, we see increase in absolute figures in 2019 compared to 2018. So there is some problems within the intra-regional trade in goods. Regarding trade in services, it is quite important to mention that even in 2020, which was a year under high influence of pandemic, the surplus in trade of services has been preserved in the Western Balkans. Labor market, we see population decline, and it is probably the biggest problem of the region. On the other hand, we see the rise of employment, and the unemployment rate is much lower than it was 5 years ago. And let's say, no matter of the effect of pandemic on those economies in the region that are oriented on services, especially the tourism, the employment in the region has been preserved. But a big problem is that we still have almost 1 million of unemployed people in the region. Many of them are young people who probably thinking of emigrating from the region. Regarding investments and capital, we see that loans to non-financial corporation is on the rise, constantly on the rise in the last 5 years, even in 2020. But gross fixed capital formation in 2020 was lower than in 2019, but compared with the starting year for this analysis in 2026, the gross fixed investment have increased by 5 billion euros. Of course, main issue for doing business in the region, especially for small and medium enterprises, is access to finance, and that still remains the first key concern for the local companies. Before we move to the conclusions, I use this opportunity to highlight once again the necessity of a strong push toward the regional economic integration. Although the Republic of Serbia is the leading promoter of regional cooperation, we need all the local economies to be involved in this process. Regarding conclusions, the waiting time at the border crossing points need to be minimized and predictable, of course. Also, we need to introduce longer working hours, 24/7 working hours for all border agencies, and extension of green corridors to the EU. To reduce trade barriers across the region in the forthcoming period, and to develop infrastructure for direct barriers reporting by business community. Regarding the action points within the priority area that calls for establishment and implementation of mutual recognition programs, as we already mentioned, there was no any significant improvement. And the existing mutual recognition programs cannot be further implemented, and no progress has been made on negotiating the program regarding industrial products. Mutual recognition of professional qualifications should be agreed, starting with selected, the most, let's say, wanted qualifications, including the removal of obstacles to the mobility. Of course, the biggest problem in the context of employment are the long procedures for obtaining work permits. Rules and procedures across the region are not clear enough, and it takes time for companies that are involved in foreign trade to collect all information from different sources. Activities for abolishing the key restriction impeding the movement of capital across the region directly affects, as we already mentioned, and that action should take, let's say, should get priority before the 2024. Also, if you allow me just to mention that local governments, for achieving these needs of the business community, local governments institutions have to work jointly to get synergetic effect and to make it possible to implement at least the majority of all activities within the Common Regional Market Action Plan by 2024. I think that cooperation between regional allies within the Chamber of Investment Forum could be a good, let's say, model that should be followed. We are thankful to all regional chambers for putting effort to make a joint informative analytical capacity and to be able to provide many analyses from the macroeconomic level to the level of concrete company or tradable goods. Also, as we already know, it is good to mention here, the integration process is too slow and uncertain. And it seems that the process is even halted for now. But in the meantime, we need additional support from our international partners, in the first row, the European Union and its institutions, so the regional economic integration on the basis of 4 economic freedoms could be established in the next medium term. We know that we need to deepen our analysis regarding the situation in the region of the Western Balkans. And we are planning to introduce additional indicators, especially those related to labor market and capital market. So we are planning to monitor also average salary in the region, average minimal salary in the region as share of the EU average, level of intra-regional foreign direct investments, value of cross-border commercial bank loans, number of registered cross-border companies, number of companies with mixed regional capital, percentage of foreign investors willing to invest in the region, and funds available for research and development, because the competitiveness in the future will mainly depend on the innovation and ability to apply results of research and development into production and providing services. Also, we are planning to introduce, let's say, confidence indicators. What are ordinary people thinking about the integration process? Because of that, we decided to monitor number of local people working in the region, percentage of people under 35 wishing to emigrate, percentage of people under 35 willing to start business in the region, number of local students enrolled the bachelor studies in the region, and number of students enrolled the postgraduate studies in the region. At the very end, I would like to mention next steps regarding this monitoring system. And as we already stated, we would like to introduce the new indicators and to update the questionnaire. Also, it's quite important to enlarge the sample. Actual sample of 500 companies is relatively small, honestly speaking. And our goal will be to increase the number of companies in the sample to 1,200 of regional companies. In that process, we will need help of all the regional chambers. We also, based on that, we are planning to do analysis and surveys twice a year in May and October, so we could monitor the progress of implementation in 2022 and 2023. Thanks to the survey, thanks to the database provided by the Vienna Institute, we will be able to do reporting on a regular basis. Also, this monitoring system will need further analytical capacity building within the Chamber of Investment Forum. We started it in 2021, but we believe that analytical capacity of the Chamber of Investment Forum proved itself and deserves to be sustainable. And bringing all these information together, we will be able to provide the informative analytical platform for public-private dialogue and decision-making system on the regional level. So we could be, in that way, the voice of the business community could be heard much louder. So thank you for your time for this to see this presentation. And now, today with me are my colleagues from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry Serbia, Jelena Vasic, Head of Analytical Center here in the Chamber of Commerce, Marko Mandic, let's say Head of organizational unit responsible for Chamber of Commerce Forum in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry Serbia, and Aleksandar Matic, our senior analyst. So I call you to put comments on this report, to ask questions, and to have a general discussion on these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boran. Thank you very much for the insightful presentation and the brief overview on the key findings from the report. I might start with the last that was mentioned in your presentation, and use the opportunity to thank the European Commission for supporting the preparation of this report, and also the support provided by the BMZ through the Chamber Partnership Project in cooperation with DHK, the German chambers, who provided the support for the initial establishment of the Regional Center of Economic Analysis and the continuous support towards its future development, so that we are able or in the position to respond to the need to monitor the progress on the implementation of the action plan, and more generally also on the key developments on field within the Western Balkans region. So that I would add up on another thing Bojan mentioned, that the key performance indicators that were presented today are not rigid. They will evolve through time in order to progress on to follow on one hand the progress in the implementation of the Common Regional Market Action Plan, but also to follow the priorities or the policy shifts that will follow in the years to come throughout the implementation of this key important document for the regional economic agenda until 2024. I now open the floor for the discussions of this report. I would kindly ask you, as mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, to use the possibility to raise hand if you want to join into the discussion. And whilst we wait, I would call upon the first that I received direct message that would like to join into this discussion, Professor Darko Lazarov. If
thank you.
Have some comments ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Bojan, for a detailed presentation of the report. At the beginning, I would like to congratulate the Chamber Investment Forum team for preparing this document. I've gone through it carefully, and I can say that the key findings of the report and the analysis that were conducted within the report reflect the real economic and especially business circumstances and conditions at the regional level. And moreover, actually the conclusions and the recommendations based on those findings and results of the analysis, I'm sure might be actually very useful guideline for the policymakers in their effort for improving the business environment in the region, and also to create policy that will fostering the process of integration among countries in the region, but also to speed up the convergation process and the process of integration in the global supply chains. I would like to discuss about several areas included in the report, but due to the limit time and in order to leave space for other participants in the meeting, I will be as short as possible by focusing on one area which, from my point of view, is very important. This is the area related to possibility for import substitution, having in consideration that actually almost all countries in the region have chronic trade deficit. From one side, and from other side, Bojan already mentioned and noted it that actually the best alternative for the region is to build export-led growth model. So the first step actually in building that model and fostering the, as I said, the convergation process to the EU level is actually to create possibilities and opportunities for import substitution. I will, at the beginning of my comment, I will say that actually the analysis very well addressed the reasons and the problems regarding this issue. Actually, this is very important for the policymakers, especially the fact that actually the inadequate substitutions which is based on the fact that there is a lack of supply and limited production capabilities from one side, and from other side, in the relatively low level of competitiveness are actually the main problems for this situation. And in that context, actually, one of the suggestions here is to, which I totally agree with that, is to conduct in-depth investigation on the sectors, areas, and products that are deficient and could be produced domestically. Actually, I will add here one comment from scientific point of view. Actually, there is already developed methodologies, scientific methodologies such as product space model, smart specialization, and so on, that could help in this process. So I call international donors and here, and especially governments in the region, to put more effort in this process, in process of investigation, in process of self-discovery of the region, in order to find out the list of products that the local companies could produce by building production and technological capabilities in next period. And I think that actually governments, national governments in the region should spend more time in this process of building production and technological capabilities of local companies to start to build comparative advantages and to start production of previous identified deficient products that the region could start producing in the next period. The second thing here regarding the import substitution and the possibility to increase the domestic production. Actually, all of us know that, and it's very well defined and addressed in the report. Actually, all of us know that there is very high import component of export from the foreign companies in the region. And here the comment is actually that the effects of the future effects of foreign direct investment should be concentrated and directed to increase the domestic component, domestic added value of this export. And I agree totally with you and your suggestions that governments should work on create better circumstances to bridge the gap between domestic and foreign companies in the region, to integrate them in the supply chain. But also I will add some comments here. Actually, maybe we need to discuss, to think and discuss about the requirements and the need for changing the policy for attracting foreign direct investment. This is to some extent is already mentioned in the report. We should not try to attract only a larger number of companies, foreign companies, but to attract companies that will be more close to the local economies, ex ante, not ex post. Because actually, if you attract companies which are not familiar with your economy, the possibility to integrate local companies in that supply chain is not possible. Actually, we have to think about the process of attracting companies that is similar to the local production, because actually in that way we can work with the local companies in order to integrate in their supply chains. So I think that this recommendation is very important in this phase. And I think that national governments and policymakers should think about changing the policy for attracting foreign direct investment, and also to think not locally but to think regionally. Try to create a local supply chain and try to increase the production capabilities of regional companies in order to increase the possibility for integration in the supply chain of foreign companies in our region, because this is the way how we can actually increase the domestic component, the domestic added value of foreign direct investment export. And this is the way how we should try to solve out the problem with the high import component of existing export in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darko, for pointing out the importance on one of covering also one of the key areas within the Common Regional Market Action Plan. In fact, a combination of two, the investment promotion of the region as a single investment destination and the priorities in that process, and combined with the need to further work on the regional supplier development program, which is also amongst one of the priorities. I don't know if Gwen or any of the colleagues would like to reflect.
Yes, Tatiana, thank you. If I may, thank you, Darko, for these constructive proposals. And since you have a lot of proposals, it will be a pleasure for us, for our team, to meet you online or in Belgrade and Skopje. And I would just like to highlight, let's say, the responsibility of the large companies in the region to include more small and medium local enterprises in their supply chains, both in terms of, as you mentioned, import substitution and export. So the responsibility of large companies, the large companies are mainly the leading exporters in the region, of course.
Thank you very much. I see a raised hand from Ms. Olga Van Ziveden. Olga, please go ahead.
Hello, hello from Berlin. Yeah, I wanted to thank you for these findings. It's a very interesting and comprehensive overview. And I just wanted to add something, because together with my colleague Sophia Kluge, who's also here on the call, we are coordinating the Chamber Partnership Western Balkans, which is a partnership between all Western Balkans Chambers of Commerce. And in this project, together with the Vienna Institute for International Economic Studies, we worked on a study about nearshoring potentials in the Western Balkans. And in this study, we actually also investigated and identified issues and hurdles when it comes to seizing the potentials of this common regional market. And they are really in line with the findings that you just presented. And Branimir Jovanovic, who's also here on the call, worked on an update of this study and found that actually this topic, this nearshoring potential topic, really stays relevant, because a year and a half after the emergence of the pandemic, the problems surrounding global supply chains are even worse than a year ago. And a survey that the German Association of Chambers of Commerce conducted just recently found that right now in fall this year, more than half of German companies with international operations are facing supply chain problems, and many of them are thinking about relocating their production and are looking for new suppliers. So there is still really a lot of potential for the region when it comes to seizing nearshoring investments. And we've also seen that FDI inflows into the region in the first half of 2021 were indeed very strong, but well, it's not really sure yet whether this was mainly due to the resumption of investments that were postponed from 2020. And our study also found that when it comes to attracting nearshoring investments, it's not just about more FDI in the region, but it could also be enhanced by fostering cooperation between domestic and foreign companies. And that does not just mean that local companies sell to foreign companies, but cooperation could be a bit more intense, could also take other forms like exchanging knowledge or developing products together. And another finding that we heard a lot from German investors in the region were that they, it comes back to this common regional market, that they could really use the potentials of the common regional market more when it comes to local and regional sourcing. Yeah, I just wanted to add this, and I can post the link about the study and maybe also the update in the chat. And I see that Branimir is raising his hand, so he probably has something to add.
Yes, thank you very much, Olga, for your insights, and thank you once again for the support provided in the whole process for the establishment from the very outset, or that is the inception of the idea of having a regional center for economic analysis, and we're looking forward to the future activities and outputs of this regional center. Mr. Ilic was, sorry, Bojan, first, if you would like to reflect something on Olga's insight.
Yeah, just to express my gratitude to Olga and Sofia for all the help.
Thank you. Mr. Ilic has previously raised the hand, but I see also Mr. Jovanovic that Olga also mentioned in her intervention. So Branimir, maybe it would be logical to give the floor first to you, because maybe you might add up on the current discussion and the issues that are being tackled.
Let's follow the order and go with Mr. Ilic first. Thanks.
Okay. Zdravko, please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you hear me. Let me first, in the beginning, just echo what Emir said in the beginning. For us, this is of tremendous importance to follow and monitoring the activities we do and the deliverables we make. So to see and what are the problems in the implementation, if there is, if we are at the level of implementation, and what if there are communication problems where we see that, for example, certain cooperation mechanisms are in place, but perhaps the business perception is different, and this is what happens in the field as well. So comparing this concrete data we have, for example, on the administrative side, and the data about the business perception for us is of great importance to guide our work. Now, in the beginning, let me also congratulate you for this work, because I know that this was not an easy task. I know it also because we are doing a lot of analysis on our hand, and we know that the problems that exist on the side of the statistics. We know that the problem that exists at the level of data in different CEFTA parties, for example, from our perspective. So for this, you really have the whole team of analysts have my deep appreciations for this work. And I understand that this is also something, of course, that it is a moving target, and CRM is as well a moving target. We see on the spot how some concrete objectives are being adapted to the situations we have, and the pandemics is definitely one of the factors that taught us that nothing is actually a target that always stays in one place. Finally, let me also briefly address some of the recommendations that you made by basically perhaps exactly this meeting, connecting the two realities of businesses who actually deliver goods and services, and the reality of administrations who are working on implementations of these plans. And as Emir mentioned, on the 16th we will have a conference which will, at its heart, basically have recognition agreements in goods, recognition agreement in services, and we see in your conclusions a lot of need for this to be in place. And I wanna just communicate with you that we did indeed prioritize this line of work. And I personally would just say that I would not say that there were no progress in the recognition agreements. And I will just give you some examples. So the recognition agreements we have in professional qualifications, in implementations of the authorized economic operators are significant. We are basically lacking. It's true that from the business perspective, perhaps it's not done, and it's not done. It's loading, but it's loading 90% at this stage. For example, for the professional qualifications, for the work permits is 85%, and for authorized economic operators is perhaps even more than 90%. In the area of industrial goods, we're starting it only now, but this is a completely new area. I understand that from the perspective of business who actually delivers goods and services, 95% or 0% is still not the same as of making the difference. I just kindly ask you to recognize that this is just that there are differences. That if we say, for example, that we have technically agreed new rules for recognition of professional qualifications, if we already validated have the reports for the 3 programs of the authorized economic operators, this is at least in my view quite some road that have been made already. So with this, I close. I invite you as well to come on Thursday, hear more about where we are at in reference to some of these recommendations that you made, and invite you also to again pressure your governments as well to speed up, to get engaged more in order for this downloading bar to make it 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zdravko. The point here is that the real measuring of impact on any decision or any action taken under the action plan can only be assessed only after it starts implementation. So be assured that businesses are here to continue pushing and insisting on the priorities. Ben, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, Zdravko. Your comments are quite helpful, since you are definitely the one who is quite familiar with both business and administrative realities. But here in this report, we just presented the point of view of the business community. And yes, definitely regarding the administrative cooperation, we mainly think of the cooperation between the local governments here.
Mr. Jovanovic is next, who has raised the hand. Let me use the opportunity to once again remind everybody else that if you want to join in the discussion, in the reactions tab on the bottom of the screen, you have the option to raise the hand. Branimir, please go ahead.
Thank you, Tanya. I didn't intend to speak today, but Olga called me, so there's no hiding. So I'm joking. So hello, everyone, and hello to all the guys and girls that I know in the audience. And thank you for inviting me to this event. I liked your presentation, although I have to admit that I was a bit late, but I hope I'll have the chance to read the full report once you publish it. So I would basically want to follow up on what Olga mentioned and what previously Darko also kind of basically agreed with what we said in this study. We have to everybody in the region, all, let's say, policymakers, and not just policymakers, but all the stakeholders, including the business community and the researchers, let's say, should understand that times are changing, and that in these new times, we all have to adapt, let's say, to the new reality if we want to get better in this new post-pandemic world. And that concretely, if you're speaking to, I don't know, attracting FDI, or let's say improving regional development, means several things. The first and most important one is that we have to change the way we have behaved in the past, let's say. We have to change our policies for attracting FDI. We shouldn't rely anymore on, I don't know, cheap labor, low taxes, and this kind of stuff, but we should focus more on quality. We should say that our countries, the Balkan countries, provide high quality for the investors, and that's why they should arrive, they should come, they should invest, because they're skilled labor force, because institutions are good, infrastructure is good. We have to change, let's say, the story of our countries. That's the the first thing. The second thing is that we shouldn't just, sell stories, but we should really improve our societies, and we should all press in that direction. We should tell governments, you need to invest in infrastructure, in all the things that you mentioned, connectivity, easier transportation, easier movement of goods and people, all this kind of stuff, but also institutions. Institutions must be made more operational, more functional, and especially political stability must be improved or maintained, let's say, because we see some dangers in this respect in recent times. And also what I wanted to say is that we also have to in addition to all this story of changing things, we should also try basically continue with this story, push this story that we should change the stories of our countries in the coming period if we want to get stronger, let's say, out of all this that has been going on. And several more things that I would also like to stress is that regional cooperation must be also improved. So we have to understand that all the Balkan countries, all alone, let's say, are too small and too irrelevant for, let's say, big companies or in the big story, geopolitical or economical that's going on. But if the region acts together, let's say, as a whole, as one region, it's much more stronger, much more influential and powerful than any of its countries individually, and it's also greater than the sum of its components. So the region must start acting together. We should not say what our country is doing this, but we should promote the region as a whole more. And especially the last thing which I want to mention is that we should also press with these new, let's say, policies for attracting FDI. So there is this potential that Olga mentioned, that big companies are thinking about changing their either locations or looking for new suppliers because of all the problems in the global economy right now. But the government should try to benefit, let's say, to score on these trends which are going on. But what they should do is that they should there's this new wave, new types of policies which basically started in the US with the Obama administration, where the government is working together with the academia, universities, and companies in attracting, let's say, supporting investment. So we should start with these three-party, let's say, I don't know how to call them, institutions, like research center, technological parks, and this kind of stuff, where these three actors join forces, academia, companies, and government, in order to attract not just FDI, but let's say high-quality FDI. So we should push with all these directions in the coming period. So that's all from me. I know I spoke too much, but yeah, thanks anyway.
Thank you very much, Branimir. Let me just point out one thing, that the initial motto, let's call it, from the very foundation or establishment of the Western Balkans Chamber Investment Forum is one region, one economy. So it goes in line in all areas. Bojan, please go ahead if you have any reflection on.
Yes, just briefly. Thank you, Branimir, for these comments, especially for the fact that you mentioned cooperation between business and academic community, which we also trying to let's say to improve, not only in Serbia but also in the region. And yeah, you definitely proved yourself as an expert for nearshoring studies. And I have to say that some local journalists here in Belgrade asked me for your contacts to make interview with you.
Thank you very much. I see the next raised hand under the name of Jakub Malhuki, but I see the face of Alessandra Wieser from DGNIR. So Alessandra, please go ahead and.
Thanks a lot, Tatiana. And I'm sorry, I think we have a problem with the links so that I appear as Jakub, but I'm indeed Alessandra Wieser from DGNIR, from the Commission. So first of all, I would like to thank CIF for the report. I must say I found it incredibly interesting and incredibly revealing the extent of the opportunities which, from the point of view of the business world, the process of economic integration offers, because some of the statistics are very striking in terms of the limitation which business feel, and would just give a sense of what can be achieved if there is a closer integration. Now, I just have some maybe comments and also questions. So first of all, I think, and I have a particular also comment to the colleagues dealing with the nearshoring. So good to hear that the fact that the global supply chains are still in crisis has kept nearshoring. I just have a sense of a question, how long is this window of opportunity going to last? In the sense, how long does the region has to get its acts together and take full advantage, considering that there are other actors in the region, see Ukraine, see the East, see others which could take advantage. When it comes to nearshoring, I also wanted, a bit the elephant in the room is a regional asymmetry, because we have Serbia, a larger economy, and then we have the other 5. Does this play, does this asymmetry in terms of economic strength plays against further integration and further support on nearshoring, or is there a dynamic which actually can pull together despite this economic asymmetry? And then the last comment and question is, we have heard the business community loud and clear. We heard also of SEFTA, and they have mentioned what has been done. Now, all what is being done is overshadowed by a very gloomy political context. Now, what can the business sector do more to somehow alert the politician that there is a lot to be done from further integration? And if you had to push for something now, what would be the most important, let's say, barrier to push? Thank you. And once again, splendid work, and thanks a lot. This has been extremely interesting, extremely revealing.
Thank you very much, Alessandra. Maybe I should start with the last part of the question. The priorities of the business sector go throughout the whole palette of the action points within the action plan, and we cannot state generally, because all of the issues are to some extent prioritized by certain sectors, by certain industries within the region, and some of the key issues have been spotted or highlighted in the document. One of them including the issue on extension of the EU green lines towards the neighboring or connecting EU countries, because we see the region as part of the European Union. We see the region as being or having the European Union as the most important trade partner and investment partner. And it is in common interest, apart from dealing with the internal issues on field within the region, to also keep the connections as much as possibly open towards the European market, where the companies from the region see that they fit it and belong. Bojan, please go ahead on addressing the raised issues.
Thank you, Tatiana. Regarding the political, let's say, risks, yeah, we are aware that it's the main risk here in the region, especially political disputes among the regional governments. But also in that context, we need more support from the European Commission, since in the process of EU integration, definitely the European Commission is the one who has the upper hand. But regarding the nearshoring, of course, supply chains are still under pressure, but we expect for them to be fully recovered by 2023. But as you know, external shocks could appear again. So the nearshoring strategy is a long-term strategy.
Okay, thank you, Bojan. I once again reiterate that the floor is open. You can use the opportunity to raise your hand and join in the discussion if you have any additional comments or any additional issues or questions regarding the issues that have been presented by Bojan as key findings or key insights from the business community from the region, or some of the issues that have already been raised during the discussion. I see no other raised hands. So Bojan, I invite you to provide some closing remarks so that we can wrap up the event.
Yes, once again, I would like to express our gratitude for the for all the participants that helped to improve and to establish actually analytical capacity within the Chamber of Investment Forum. We will have to do a lot of job monitoring and following the realization of activities within the action plan. But also, I still would like to call all the regional chambers of commerce to work jointly on this project. And also, I would like to express once again gratitude to our analytical team. So and your, Tatiana, personal help and involvement through the whole process.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Western Balkan Six Chamber Investment Forum and all the involved participants, let's say, in this process, we want to thank you for your interest and your participation in today's presentation. We might wrap up with the conclusion, as I mentioned, that the initial motto and the leitmotif of all the activities of CIF has and will remain the motto of one region, one economy. We strongly believe that many potentials are available for the companies if we continue to work on supporting that is enhancing regional economic cooperation and proceed on removing on all the barriers that have been spotted and maybe much more than that haven't made it into the radar of the analysis in this edition of the Business Insights report, but are somewhere there in the field obstructing further economic cooperation. And the business community from the region will remain on the positions to push all regional stakeholders and regional governments that the issues that are stated within the Common Regional Market Action Plan are still valid requests from the business communities, and the need to see the implementation of some of those priorities as soon as possible on field, so that all interested stakeholders, that is the companies that are working on field within the region on daily basis, see and feel tangible improvements in the business surroundings or improvements in their conditions for operating within the region and getting more easily involved in intra-regional investments or trade. Apart from that, the Western Balkan Six Chamber Investment Forum continues its activities within the Regional Supplier Development Program. We are happy to lead the private-led initiative within the Common Regional Market Action Plan, and we want to thank you all for your participation and patience in the presentation of the key findings of the report today. We wish you all a good day, and let's keep in touch for any additional comments or remarks or proposals on how we can improve the private sector involvement in this whole process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.